Hello, FIChem. In our last class, we talked about the different spheres of the Earth: the geosphere, the hydrosphere, the atmosphere, and the biosphere. In the world, different material flows between these different spheres to flow around the world. One material that flows around the world is water in what we call the water cycle. Today, we're going to explore that cycle. So, to do that, we're going to be using a gizmo, which is a simulation online. So there is a link to this page in your Google Classroom assignment, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So you're going to go to Login. You're going to put in RH student, and you're going to type in Gizmo, Gizmo, Gizmo. You'll log in. You're going to click on this class here. It doesn't really matter which one you click on. It won't affect anything. So you're going to go to Find Gizmos, up here to Find Gizmos. Here you're going to type in water. You're going to go down to water cycle. So now we're here, and you're going to go to Launch Gizmo. So you're now in the gizmo. So for the assignment today, which is also in the Google Classroom assignment, you're going to be working through this document, the student exploration of the water cycle. So the first thing you're going to do is answer the prior knowledge question. You're going to do this before you interact with the simulation. Do this before you interact with the simulation. If you don't really answer this question, give your best guess. I don't know is not an acceptable response. Give it a shot. Try to think it through. If you're wrong, no worries. I want to see you think. I want to see you thinking. After you've done this, you're going to go back to the gizmo for the gizmo warm up. In the gizmo warm up, you see in the simulation here, you have different options on the right side: agriculture, aquifer, atmosphere, clouds, etc. So in your document, you have different items labeled in bold. You're going to click on each of these items in the gizmo and use what it says inside them to answer the questions that are asked in the warm-up. After you answer each question, you're going to hit back. Which takes you back to where all the options are available. When you finish the warm-up, you're going to go to the main activity. The first part of the main activity is collecting data, where you're going to create 2 different water cycles. 2 water cycles? That sounds odd. So what this means is that the water cycle is a complex cycle in which there's multiple paths available for water to flow. So you're going to use the gizmo simulation to identify 2 different paths, with each having at least 4 steps. For example, if I hit gizmo, say I want to start with oceans. So I click oceans. Now from oceans, the only option it gives me is atmosphere. So from oceans, I can the only place that water can go once it's in the oceans is the atmosphere. So my first step was the oceans. My second step is the atmosphere. From the atmosphere, the only available route that it gives is clouds. So I'm going to hit clouds. That is my third step. Actually, my apologies. The ocean was not my first step. So its first step was atmosphere. You start with oceans. Your first step takes you to the atmosphere. My second step took me to clouds, and my third step can be one of these 3 options. I'm going to click precipitation. So that is my third step. So I started with oceans. I started with oceans. My first step, 1, was to atmosphere. My second step, 2, was to clouds. My third step, 3, is to precipitation. And my fourth step is going to be back to the oceans. That makes a complete cycle because I started where I ended. To make a complete cycle, you need to finish where you started. So once you have a complete cycle where you finish at the same spot you started in with at least 4 steps to get there, you're going to hit path. And path is going to tell you the route you took. Starting with oceans, you went to atmosphere, step 1, clouds, step 2, precipitation as rain, step 3, and oceans as step 4. So the water evaporated from the oceans into the atmosphere, condensed from the atmosphere into clouds, fell as precipitation in rain, and collected in the oceans. So that is a full path of that's a full water cycle. That is a full cycle, a complete cycle within the water cycle. So going back to our document, we would write out those steps running. You could write here, ocean. I'm going to hit hyphen and then caret to the right to make a arrow. Ocean to atmosphere to clouds to precip, rain to oceans again. If you need to go further, if your cycle has enough steps that it won't stay online, if I just keep writing the cycle, we'll see that it should give me a new line. I'm going to continue the water through the cycle I just wrote out. See, it gives you a new line. So fill the entire cycle you have until you get back to your original point. Oceans back to oceans, or it doesn't have to be oceans. It can be anywhere. You can start anywhere, and you just need to make sure you finish where you started with these 4 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can have more than 4 steps. You cannot have less. So you need to make 2 such paths. 2 paths. After you made your 2 paths, you're going to go through the gizmo, clicking on the different areas shown here to find answers to each of these questions. You're going to look through those areas to find answers to each of these questions. Once you've found those answers, you're going to learn about phase changes, and you're going to identify changes from one place to another that are going to produce each of these phase changes: evaporation, condensation, melting, and freezing. From there, you're going to do the practice where you're going to identify which phase change would produce each of these transitions, each of these steps: oceans, atmosphere, clouds, etc. Then you're going to check which 2 processes could cause each of the following steps. So what 2 different processes that cause the 2 different steps? So this is not 2 processes that each on their own cause a step. It's one process followed by another process that gets you across the gap here. Because as we see here, oceans to clouds, in my original thing of oceans to atmosphere to clouds, there are two steps that happen. So we need to identify what are the 2 steps that take you from oceans to clouds. Next, you're going to do a think and discuss. You look at, though, this says water covers over 2/3 of the Earth's surface. Yet water shortages are a major problem for many people around the world. Why do you think this is the case? IDK, I don't know, is not a valid answer. So when you think through what could possibly be the reason why water shortages are such a problem, even though there's so much water on the Earth. Think it through and think what possible reasons could be. You don't have to be correct, but I do need to see you thinking. Finally, to show your learning, you're going to take one of the two cycles that you identified in problem 1, and you're going to draw out that cycle. In your drawing, you should include arrows showing the direction that water flows in the process. Is it flowing from the atmosphere to the ocean, or is it flowing from the ocean to the atmosphere? And next to each arrow, if a phase change occurs, I want you to write down what that phase change is. From ocean to atmosphere, does a phase change occur? If so, what phase change was it? When you have made your complete cycle, you're going to take a picture of it and submit the picture along with this document that you're going to fill out in the Google Classroom assignment. That is all. Good luck.